Hello there. Good evening. This is Jerry Wang. Thank you for being here. And it has been a while since teaser number 6. So this is the Family's Golden teaser number 7. And the title is Harmony versus Coercion. Basically today I would like to focus on conflict resolution. In any family, what tears a family apart are the conflicts. And conflicts are usually about boundary issues. Where do I begin? Where do I end? We have a tendency to take people's praises and criticisms very personally. We put people's words and opinions and actions and reaction to us into our boundary, and we feel the need to control people because when people say something we don't like, we get angry with them or we reject them. So these are all boundary issues, and I wanted to share with you some timeless principles on how to deal with conflicts. And people say, what you hear, you forget. What you see, you remember. And what you do, you will understand and you will know it. And if you practice these principles over time, they become yours, they become innate. So, I'd like to establish a few things. First, I'd like to establish the equivalence between a verbal attack and a physical attack. Once we make that connection, then I'll give you some examples from nature, from the animal kingdom, so to speak, like a python, an anaconda, or a killer whale, or a shark, or a lioness, how they hunt, and what's their strategy to a decisive victory. In this case, we want to use the same principles of obviously not to destroy and not to hurt, but to protect our family members. And if you will stay with me, so this is a teaser. I will give you an overview, and then there will be a separate video which actually captures the entire harmony versus coercion workshop, which is about 1 hour, can be more or less, and I'll get into more of that later. So first, let's establish the equivalence between a verbal attack and a physical attack. For example, when somebody says, why in the name of so-and-so did you do that? That's terrible. The equivalent of that in the physical world could be a push. Basically, they didn't like your position and they are trying to punish you for having taken that position. Or if they say, you can't do anything right, you are horrible, you are not good for anything. These are terrible things to say, but we hear them in the context of family, in the very intimate relationships between husband and wife, partners, parents and children, and so on. So, when somebody goes, you are good for nothing, the equivalent of that is a physical punch. It actually hurts. So our words can strike like knives. So I hope I'm making some sense in that anything you say verbally has a physical equivalent of some sort. And the harmony versus coercion system is designed to de-escalate the conflict. So basically to bring the attack to a closure. And every attack has a head, a body, and a tail. Just like a whale, a fish, a snake, a monkey has a head, a body, and a tail. And the good news is the closure, the principles to close an attack, the closure also has a head, a body, and a tail. So the beauty of the principle-centered approach is that once you become very familiar with these basic principles, when you look at the principles individually, they seem to be somewhat nonsensical or more like a nuisance. But as you get into them, as you put them together as a system, then you will see the beauty of the principles. Let's look at how a top predator such as the python, how it captures its meal. And I'm sorry to give some gruesome examples, but I wanted to make sure these are powerful examples which you can remember. And when you do the exercises, you will be able to make connections between the nonsensical individual principles as they are being defined and the actual conflict that you have to deal with, whether it is physical or verbal. And the beauty of this workshop is, as you will see, it not only gives you a chance to examine the principles, but if you condition yourself over time, you can use the workshop to increase your aerobic abilities, your cardio ability, your strength, your flexibility, your endurance, and most of all, it is a skill-based workshop. It's about skills. It's not about anything else, in my mind. So skills in using the principles. So anyways, let's look at the python. Python first goes up to its meal. It clamps its meal in its mouth. It doesn't bite multiple times like a dog when dogs fight. But the python comes up, it positions itself in relationship to the prey. It makes a connection. Okay? And then it no longer fusses with the point of conflict. Let's say this is the point of conflict and this is the python. It stabilizes the point of conflict. It wraps its body, it coils its body around the prey. That's positioning. The python or the anaconda is positioning its body onto the prey. Okay? Once it positions its body, it applies superior force. So here we have three principles. Principle of isolation, isolating the point of attack. The principle of superior force, and the principle of positioning. Okay? And if you look at how the initial attack took place, that's also leverage. It's a very high leverage activity to have the enemies or the meals, the prey animal's head, held, in the mouth, in the jaws, and the pythons have teeth that point backwards to kind of secure the prey. So here we have four principles. The principles of isolation, positioning, superior force, and leverage. Okay? Now let's take a look at the shark. The shark comes up, one bite. Leverage, superior force principle. It doesn't open up the mouth to bite again. I mean, theoretically it could, but one bite would be sufficient. Then it begins to twist and turn its body and shake its head to saw the body part off. There you can see, again, there's isolation, there's superior force, there's positioning. Goes up. When the lioness attacks its prey, it will clamp the jaws onto the prey. From then on, it will not move anymore from that position. That's called the jaws will be in the same place. That's isolating the point of conflict. And even if the lioness, the body becomes airborne and crashes back to earth, it will not let go. Eventually, the lioness will get into a position to apply superior force and its leverage. So here are the four principles: isolation, positioning, superior force, and leverage. These are the four principles the top predators in the animal kingdom use to capture their meals. In the context of family, we love our family members. We don't want to hurt them. We want to de-escalate the conflict. So we use the same principles, except there's a paradigm shift. There's an about face. Rather than us seeing our family members attacking us, what we see is our families are being attacked. Our family members are being attacked by something they didn't like. That is attacking them. And then they come to us, even though it looks like they are attacking us, but they are actually asking for help. Because when something goes wrong in their mind, they think, well, you are the problem. You are the cause of my problem. But what's really bothering them is their reaction to the problem. So we can go in, apply leverage. First, we isolate the point of conflict. Then we position ourselves so we can use superior force. Then we apply leverage to bring to a closure the attack. However, this is not enough. We have to know to be relaxed, to be balanced ourselves emotionally. If we are not balanced, we're likely to push them off balance and so on. So thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to come here.